Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm, Small Farm Sunday edition, where I focus on issues facing folks who want to start a small farm, improve their small farm from our perspective, which is 10 years of livestock farming on a small scale. And today I'm talking about CSAs, which is short for Community Supported Agriculture, something that's been around for at least 15 or 20 years. It's something we've utilized, and I'm going to give you our experiences with it and how it may benefit your farm, some of the drawbacks to having a CSA, just kind of the lay of the land. Community supported agriculture first emerged around produce farms, vegetable farms, and it was a way for people that care about local food and the success of local farms to invest in that success. So farming can be a very risky business. You know, you never know which crop is going to do well in a certain year based on the weather, and there's all kinds of outside factors that come in. So the basic idea was the public could buy into the farm's production via a share. They would buy a share of the farm's output. That was their CSA share. So whatever the farm produced that year, they would get a percentage of that output. So naturally, if the farm had a good year, you'd get a whole lot of produce. If the farm didn't have such a good year, well, you were sharing in that risk and success, so you would get less produce. And typically the way it looked is you would get a box of vegetables every week during the production season, say from June through October, of whatever was in production at the farm that time. So you'd start out with strawberries and greens and move on to squash and then on to tomatoes and finally into things like Brussels sprouts and the late season crops and the winter squashes. Over succeeding years and up to the present, the idea behind how a share was determined changed, at least in our area, from a kind of percentage of the farm's production into more of a fixed known quantity. A certain size box is what it boils down to, a certain size box of produce that you get every week from the farm that you're participating in. CSAs in this modern form is a box share, a fixed box share, or a win for both the customer and the farmer. From the customer's perspective, they're getting a bulk discount on their produce through the whole growing season by paying up front for it. For the farmer, the money's coming into the farm just when it's needed most in that slow spring season when expenses are piling up, buying seed, buying fuel to prepare land, all that stuff that comes in before you actually have revenue from the products that you're growing. As a livestock farm, we have those same sorts of dynamics going on. Most of our money is coming in the busy season in the fall when we have all of our freezers full and we're fully stocked with all of our different meats. And then we enter a slow season in the winter, and then in the spring, a lot of these freezers are empty. We're really low on stock, but we're putting out a lot of money investing it into this summer stock. And for us, it comes in the form of having to buy poultry chicks, having to load up all of our feed wagons, no small purchase these days. And so it was always kind of a net deficit for the farm from a business perspective, where we were laying out a lot of money but not a lot was coming in. So early on in our farm, I think the second year, we started a meat CSA, actually a meat and egg CSA. And just like the produce farmers, our CSA consisted of a bunch of different plans based on the family size that signed up. So the basic plan was one chicken a month, one whole chicken a month, 2 dozen eggs per month, and a turkey at Thanksgiving. And for large families, the plan went all the way up to 4 chickens a month, 4 dozen eggs a month, and 8 pounds of pork per month, and a large holiday turkey, about 20 pounds. Pricing the CSA on our end was really simple, and I'll put up a sheet here that's our kind of one-page sheet that we would hand out to customers with the different plans. I'm not sure how the produce farmers do it because theirs seems a lot more complicated to me. All we would do is add up all the pieces and parts that were in their CSA, figure out what the retail price of those chickens and eggs and turkey and pork would be, and then we would knock 15% or so off of it, round it down to a even number, and that was the price of the share. Now, shares worked on either a 6 or 12 month basis, so the start of the CSA was June 1st when they would start picking up their stuff, and it would either go to December 1st or roll right through for 12 months to the next end of May. And customers had that flexibility to choose plan size, choose what was in the plan, and choose the duration. I think that one thing livestock farmers struggle with when it comes to creating their own CSA is the variable cost of the items that you put into the CSA. For example, I can price a whole chicken pretty well because we grow average 4 1/4 pound chickens, so it's pretty easy to come up with a price for them. Eggs are a fixed quantity. Size of turkey that we're selling to the customers, part of their CSA, is a fixed quantity. But when it came to pork, I couldn't figure that out for a while because there's a range in pork cuts, you know, from ground pork, which is the cheapest, up to bacon, which is the most expensive. And what we did in the end is just made a la carte pork, we called it, where the customer would purchase a certain poundage of pork every month, 3 pounds, 5 pounds, or 8 pounds, and they could pick from whatever to make up their share. And even though bacon is the most expensive, and you might worry that some customers just going to get bacon as part of their CSA, customers know, and they know not to take advantage of the privilege of being able to choose what they want. So we would get a good mixture across the whole board of pork products, and it worked out fine. We based the cost of the pork portion of our CSA kind of on a middle of the road cut, you know, more like a pork chop, not ground pork, not smoked bacon, but something that was kind of in the middle cost-wise, and then you just multiplied it by the number of pounds that the customer was getting per month. And we always use this CSA just to help with startup costs, so we kept it at a fixed size. There are produce farms around here that do hundreds and hundreds, in fact, thousands of shares, and the dominant part of their business is CSA. But for us, it was always kind of a sideline to help with startup expenses in the spring. So there's a wide range that you can adopt as far as how much money you want coming in at the front versus how much you're going to sell directly at market. And I always felt that beyond reducing price for upfront payment to help with startup costs, Ezra, we really wanted to sell all that we could at retail because we have a presence at the market anyway, and there's more money in the end for us if we can sell our things retail versus discounting them for payment up front. Now I want to talk about some of our experience over, I think, 9 years we had a CSA, and by the way, we're ending ours this May. This is the last period in our CSA. We're not renewing it, and I'll get to the reasons why. I found it was really good when we were starting up for a bunch of reasons. Number one is the money aspect, because that's a lot of money going out in the spring, and you'd be able to balance that cash flow. Number two is it helped to make dedicated regular customers. If somebody's buying all their stuff up front, you're kind of insuring their business for the next 6 months or a year, and from their perspective, they're getting in the habit of buying from you and getting used to your products. So that was a good way for us to take customers that had tried our products a few times and liked them, to kind of lock in their business for the next period of time, 6 months or a year. What happened to us though, in year 7 of our CSA, COVID hit and everything went haywire. And COVID was really good for farms doing CSAs because all of a sudden you had a line of customers that wanted to join your CSA and lock in their food supply because there was so much uncertainty going on. So what we saw in 2020 is a max out of our CSA. We were turning a lot of people away because, like I said, we didn't want to go too much into that discount world versus selling retail at the farmer's market. And at the same time as this CSA traffic was taking this big increase, we were seeing our input costs start to become more unpredictable. It was hard for us to tell what we were going to pay for chicks or grain or all the other costs of a farm back in February for the coming growing season. And I started to get nervous about, you know, how much of a discount are we giving and what's it actually going to cost to grow these things, and kind of nervousness about locking in prices for a long period of time where I might go deep underwater in terms of what I'm paying to raise my stock. In addition, through the growth and maturity of our business model, conditions were starting to change in the way that we regarded customers. So I started to say a CSA is more work for less money, right? Because we're giving these customers discount, but at the same time I'm spending more time with these customers, coordinating their CSA, taking care of figuring out communication as to when they're going to pick up, making sure I have the stock left at the market for them to do their pickup. It got to be difficult for me to keep track of all this. And for all these reasons, we started to move away from the CSA model because, after all, we have to have a presence at market in any case. It's a basic tenet of how our farm runs, that it needs the farmer's market as a continual marketing mechanism, because new customers are always coming into the farmer's market to make up for customers that inevitably are dropping off, moving away, changing their tastes, their interests, whatever. We need to have that presence. So that's kind of a fixed overhead cost and time commitment for us. The CSA on top of that didn't make sense anymore because we were selling all of our stock at retail at the farmer's market through the growth of our business model anyway. So no need to bring those customers in up front when we had a pretty sure guarantee that we were going to sell everything that we grew at the market during the season at retail price. So I think it's important to understand CSAs as a tool that's in your toolkit, and it's one that may be a good tool for a certain period of time, especially in the startup of your farm, but you may outgrow it, and that's fine. Your business model needs to keep changing to account for changing conditions and the sort of consistency of your customer base and how your financials are doing. Our farm has grown to the point now where those spring startup costs aren't as much of an issue. A CSA became yet another commitment for us that put a strain on already limited time, so we kind of outgrew it. But if you're a starting farmer and you want to build up a repeat customer base and you want to bring in money most when you need it, CSAs are a great thing to do. So, you know, if you're just starting out, it's something I would highly recommend you look into. It has all kinds of benefits. I hope this video was informative. Being that it's Small Farm Sunday, I want to help you. If you're starting a small farm, if you're learning the ropes when you're getting in, feel free to comment. I'll try to get to as many of the comments and questions as I can, and together we can grow this movement. I mean, I'm very passionate about this, and I want to provide all the help that I can to people that are just starting out. I hope you have a great Sunday, and I'll see you next time.